Hello friends, one important JavaScript interview code example involves implementing a function to flatten a nested array. So this is a common problem that accesses your ability to work with array and recursion. So let's say we can have a question. The question could be this one. Okay, so given a nested array, write a function flatten array to flatten it into a single level array. So what will happen, let us say one example. So what we are going to do, suppose we have second, so let's say we have one input array, nested array. It contains 1 2 3 4 5. This is another array. Inside that we again have one array 3 4 like this. So this is the input, and what we need to do, we need to make it flatten. So by calling it flatten, the final output should be 1 2 3 4 5 in a single array. To create this, let us first have a button, and we will call it flatten array, and let's refresh. The button is created here, and now what we will do, we will create a on click event, and by clicking we will flatten array function. So we are going to call this function. Okay, now this function we will create here, and we will write function flatten array, right, and we will do console.log test just to see if it is working. Clicking on this flatten array is giving us test, so this is working. So now our button is connected to this function. So what to do now is, one second, let me delete this console log. And the first thing that we are going to do, let us have one input array. Okay, so we will call this const arr, and we will have this, the value to be this one. So this is the input array. Let's copy this, paste it here. So this is the const array, this is the original array that we want to flatten. Okay, now next one, we have to create one another variable arr, or we will call it flattened. Okay, so this flattened array will be empty for now, and now we will write a function. Now this function name could be flatten. Okay, and we will have one inner arr, we will pass inner array. In this function, what we are going to do, we are going to use a for loop. So for let element of inner array. So whatever the inner array will be passed, we will iterate on all of the elements. Okay, then what we will do, we will write if the element itself is an array, if array dot is array. So array dot is array is a method to check whether the input that you are providing is itself an array or not. So if it is an array, what we are going to do, we are going to call this function again. Which function? This flatten function. So we will call this flatten function again, and what we are going to pass, we are going to pass this element. Okay, so this element will again be passed. If in case this is not an array, what we need to do, we will write else we will, what we will do, we will add this value to flattened dot, how to push the value, using the push method, flattened dot push, we will pass this element. Okay, so now what will happen, for all the nested arrays, it will again call the flatten function, and it will again pass the inner array until unless they contain the values. So this way we are able to store all the values to the flattened variable. Okay, now how to do, now what we need to do, we need to call this flatten method function. Now we will call this flatten, and what we will pass, we are going to pass this arr, original array. Okay, now that's it, I guess. So once after calling this, let's do the console log. And we will get this value flattened. Okay, so let us save this and refresh it. Let's see if we can get the value. Yes, so now what we are getting is, we are getting the another array, that is a flattened array. So again, let me explain very quickly. We have to we have one input array which is a nested array. We need to flatten that array. To flatten that array, we created one function, flatten array. Inside that we have just taken one input array. We have then have another flattened array where we are going to calculate, push the values which are not the flattened values. Actually, we will have another function which is being called at line number 28 here, and in this function we are just passing one element of arr one at a time. So first time it will pass one will be passed here, and then that element is, because not an array, it will just get added to the flattened. So this flattened will have one. Next time when we pass this value, this is again an array. So once, because this is an array, it will again call this flatten function again, where we will pass this value. 2 will be passed here. 2 is not an array, so 2 will be added here. 3, 4 is again an array, so it will again call the flatten function. Okay, so this way it will completely finally turn out to be get added into the flattened variable, and finally when we do console log, we will get 1 2 3 4 5. So I hope this is clear to you. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.